And it goes a little something like.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 14 of Ballrooms and Bachelors Podcast, where we talk about our experiences as ballroom dancing students, dancing with the stars, and all things Bachelor. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Camille.
So today, we have a lot to talk about on the episode today. We're going to be talking about dance this week. For us, we did, as we've been talking about, we have a competition in November. And one of the things that we're doing in November for the competition is this formation dance that like our studio is doing, and we're going to be competing against other studios, and we've been working on that for quite a while. So we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the new group classes for October, because we kind of previewed that last week and what that kind of entails and what those classes have been like so far. And then I have something I want to talk about with the competition for me in terms of my showcase dance. That should be exciting. And then we're going to recap episode 3, which was Bond Night of Dancing with the Stars this week. And then parts, I was just saying this like right before we started recording that when I keep saying episode 2 and 3, but it's really episode 1 and 2 of this week. Bachelor in Paradise. So yeah, we'll be the 2-part episode of Bachelor in Paradise this week. So we have a lot to talk about, but so let's get started.
All right, so I can get started a little bit. I don't think we wanted to give too much away on the formation dance, but we did have an extra rehearsal. Yeah, we did have an extra rehearsal on Friday night. And we're starting to, if any of you watched like the last one that I had talked about on a previous episode when we did like all the Broadway type dances, there were multiple portions of it. So I won't give away our theme per se, but we do have like different portions of it. So different people might be in different segments of the routine. So we started, I think we had 2 of our like fuller practices this past week, but we had like an extra one on Friday, and some of us went out to eat afterwards because we're like, just trying to get in the team spirit. And it's coming together really well. So we're excited for Glen Rock to really show up with this dance, and I really just feel like if you come see it, you're going to love it. So so, and I did the contemporary class last week, but you've done more of the new group classes for October, so I'll let you take it away with that and
cool.
the showcase stuff.
Okay, that sounds good, thank you. But yeah, the group classes have been great this week, as you know, like you said, with the contemporary class. That was a lot of fun. It was actually pretty cool because Elena, like right before we started the dance, she was like, we did a lot of that kind of characterization stuff at the beginning and stuff like that. Again, not exactly how we did last month, but it was still kind of like getting us prepared for the dance. I thought, which I really kind of like doing that before we do the routine. And she had said, we're going to do kind of like a faster contemporary kind of thing this week, because she was like, obviously when you think of contemporary, you think of very, very like fluid movements and very just kind of slow and very emotional and everything like that. But she's like, contemporary can also be very kind of, I forgot what she said, and the thing about it's circles and something,
circles and sharps. I mean, that was just kind of the exercise we were doing, was just like the fluid motion versus like more like sharp motion.
Exactly. That's what she was explaining, and she said like obviously like circles can be kind of like that's kind of like the slow, relaxing, fluid part. And then sharps, I kept thinking circles and shapes. That's how I always kept it. I think she even said that too. It's just so easy to kind of combine those 2 words.
Yeah.
But she had then she was saying, also with shapes, like you can be kind of like rigid with it, and it can be a little bit more like faster, and the music can be a little bit faster and upbeat and stuff like that, but it still can be contemporary. So we we kind of like experienced or experimented with both those things during like the kind of like exercises we were doing. But then it was another one, Vice to Dust, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. I knew it was a Queen song. I was like,
by Queen,
by Queen. And so that was, we did a routine to that, and it was so much fun. And I absolutely love the contemporary class that we talked about. I think it's fun to actually, like I talked about a few times, like in the last few episodes, that it's just fun to kind of get like just kind of acquainted with another style of dance that we maybe don't do as often, especially with us being a ballroom studio. Like I talked about, like 95% of the classes are ballroom classes, and so it's nice to have like a because obviously as dancers, and I feel like that's something that we always kind of like to do, is to get immersed in like other styles that maybe we don't do as much, to kind of learn more about it and get better at them. At least that's what I know I like to do.
I'm the
And so
same.
that's yeah, I know. And I've heard so many dancers say that, like even like pro dancers are like, oh, I'd like to try this new style just to kind of get
Mhm,
more acquainted with it and get more comfortable with it. You just always want to keep learning, which I think is
mhm.
really cool. So yeah, it's been amazing. I actually gave Elena a song idea for next week's class. So I don't know if she'll use it, but she's like, oh, I like the
Okay,
song. So maybe she will. So
we'll
I
see.
cross my fingers.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We'll see if she actually uses it. But she's like, I like the song, so maybe I think it'd be cool. But yeah, the contemporary class has been a lot of fun, like I talked about.
Mhm.
And I don't know. Do you have any more thoughts on it?
I think that was, yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool to do the Queen song. It was a little different. We've been varying it up over the past few
Exactly.
weeks, but that was, yeah, so that was the only one that I was able to go to this week.
Yeah.
Otherwise.
Yeah. And so Tuesday, like we had talked about, we've been having like salsa on Tuesdays pretty much
Mhm.
for, I don't even know how long at this point. I think even like back since like I maybe we've taken like a few 1 or 2 month break since I've been at the
Mhm.
station for a year, but I think I want to say at least 9 out of the 12 months that I've been there, there's been a salsa class on
Yeah,
Tuesdays. I would
yeah,
say it's
at
it's
least
it
the
is
Wednesday.
yeah, and they had Wednesday
Yeah.
ones and stuff like that. They've had like variations on the salsa class.
Mhm.
It's been like salsa class
Yeah.
and, that they've had for, like I said, it's usually been middle of the week, and they've
Mhm.
had it for a long time. And so this Tuesday, or this Tuesday, the Tuesdays of October, they switched it up to bachata, which we haven't done in quite a while. I think the last time we did bachata was like April for a group class, I
Okay.
think, because I remember
Lost
having a
track.
bachata class, and I think it was in the spring.
Mhm.
Because I remember all the summer classes, and I don't remember bachata being one. So I would if I had to guess, I think it's probably like March, April, if I had to guess.
Mhm.
And like I said last week, I think it's nice to kind of have that change. Like obviously I love salsa, it's so much fun to do. And like David, he's one of our instructors that usually does the salsa class. He comes up with like all these really, really fun routines for salsa. But
Mhm.
so that always makes it really fun and fresh and interesting to do salsa class. But like I said, it was just nice. It's nice to kind of give a little bit of a change and get a little bit of a change with a new style of dance that maybe
Mhm.
we haven't done in a while. Because I don't really dance bachata much unless it's like group class or the party, just because
Yeah.
it's a
I
social
mean,
dance,
same.
and like
Yeah.
obviously it's fun to dance, but it's not like I'm not
Mhm.
like dancing it all the time like I do with my Latin and stuff like that. But because I'm not practicing it for a competition or something like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I really, really enjoy that class. I think it's a lot of fun. Again, just like salsa class, a lot of people show up for it. So that's like a kind of, that's the thing with our studios, that there's people that kind of, and that's pretty a cool thing, is that there's some people like you and I that go to like try to go to all the classes or most of the classes.
Mhm.
And there's some people that are like, oh, I like these two styles, and then they just go to those two, like maybe
Yeah.
2 classes a week or something like that. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. I don't know if you're planning on making it to any of the bachata classes, but
It mostly will just depend on my lessons for the week. I
oh,
think
yeah,
right now I'll probably skip bachata for right now, just because I
yeah.
think if I had like a volunteer thing for work yesterday after work, so I couldn't come to the arm styling, but that is probably more of what I need to be there for. Yeah, just because I know it's hard to, it's like Tuesday's kind of the one that I'm like, okay, I could probably skip bachata out of the classes. Not that I don't like it, I just, if across the week I have to kind of pick, if I have to skip a day, that's the day
Yeah,
for me
yeah.
at least. But I know a lot more people will come to bachata that don't come to the other classes. So
Yeah, I
um
guess that's kind of
yeah.
seems to be the norm with bachata and salsa. And Elena taught the bachata class this week because David had like a lesson during the time just for this week. And
Yeah.
the combination she came up with was so fun. It was like really,
I
really
saw
cool.
the video.
Yeah, I know. I took that video and it was so funny. I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting her to do that. And I just love how she said, because like she did this thing, if people don't know what we're talking about,
Mhm.
she did this thing where she like laid across the floor and like went like
Yeah.
her hand, and she's like, my students are not
Iconic.
phased by what I do anymore. She like always does that, and it's so hilarious. It's so much fun.
I might, like the night of the Halloween party, it's a Tuesday, so I might come to the class like that night because I'm there for something else.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think then it's like typically then those weeks I'll shift the class to like come that day as opposed to another
Yeah.
day and then try to, I think that's where I'm trying to, it's like it's not like I'm averse to going to
No, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that class was a lot of fun this week. It was cool because like I said, we kind of, I think what Elena usually tries to do, and usually like the first
Mhm.
class of every kind of like every month, whether
Mhm.
it's usually no matter who's teaching it. But I really have noticed this with Elena, is that like if there is like new people in the class, she'll usually kind of go over what the dance is first for like the first 10
Yeah.
minutes of class, and then she'll start doing the routine. So that's kind of what we did. even though most of us are pretty comfortable with bachata at this point. And it was really cool because we did a lot of these like cool, like the leaders did these really cool things where we like dipped like our partner and they went under our arm and then like came up to it, and then we did that thing where like we like then the leaders ducked under like the person's head, and then like we kind of like had like our arms like kind of like crossed. I thought that was just like so cool. Yeah, the choreography and the routine was just really creative, so I thought it was a lot of fun. And we ended it because Elena was like, oh, I'm gonna play like a bachata, like a classic bachata song to dance this routine to, and then the second time I'm gonna play a song that you can't that's usually not bachata, but you can't do bachata to it. And then she played Beautiful Girl by Sean Kingston. And I was like, that's like really funny. And I was like,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's like, it can work. So that was fun. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the bachata class. I'm really looking forward to see what we do next week. I think it's fun. So yeah, and then obviously, like we talked about, we have Wednesdays off. So we didn't have any class that night. And then last night, we had the Latin arm styling and smooth class, which was really fun because I obviously, like I said, I haven't really like, I've done some of the smooth group classes and like the coaching seminars and stuff like that, but since I'm like, I haven't started smoother standard yet, even though I'm planning to start standard in a few months, it's still very new for me. So like it kind of takes me a little while to get used to that, but the arm styling one was first. And that is what, like, I know we were talking about this last week, the arm styling, I would just say arms in general is like my biggest weakness in my Latin dancing. And just because like footwork, I seem fine with, like, kind of like just like my posture, confidence, everything like that, I seem fine with, but like arms we haven't added arms to our routines, or really arms to our routines. And since my arms are pretty lengthy, or lanky, and I'm like a taller person, that it's like I have like, with me having longer arms, it makes it kind of feel awkward to do like this kind of stuff with my arms. It's just like so like, it's so uncomfortable. But
well, you're just not used to doing that stuff. Like, I mean, I at least did ballet for many years, skating for many years. So like for me, I'm like, I have to learn how to do the arms the way I need to do them for the dance, but I'm used to having to like move my arms.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the thing, is
that's
that
why I need to go for that class. I just last night I couldn't, but
yeah, exactly. So it definitely is very beneficial. But I think it's actually one of these things that like Elena actually tells me all the time, in terms of like when you do something that you don't really know very much, if you really just, or you're not comfortable with, or you're just not familiar with, like the more you do it, the more comfortable you get, even if it's just like one time. And that really is the case and very true, because like I said, I've done some arms and it's okay, but like it's like very kind of basic stuff, and like most of the complicated kind of like fluid things, I feel very like, again, my arms are just like, what am I supposed to do? It's because like my arms are so long. But actually yesterday during the class, we did this kind of arm exercise, where we did like rumba arms, I believe, where we just kind of like stepped to the side both ways and then like went together. And then so we did like we did big arm, small arm, or medium arm, or something like that. So and so we kind of just like doing a lot with weight transfers and stuff like that, with the rumba arms. And but even like halfway through the class, I started to feel more comfortable with it. And everybody in the class that like, because I know I was like working with a few people, and she had us like, she was talking about how like when you do the Latin arms, it comes kind of from like moving your back and your lats, not moving your like shoulders. And so even though it might look like you can see, no, exactly. And to probably from like other, like if you're watching from afar, you probably you would think it's shoulders, just because it has that movement, but you're kind of just moving your lats and your kind of like upper body, like side to side, not your shoulders. And we had at the end of the class, we were like kind of like testing if we could feel the people moving their lats. And everybody that I work with was like, oh yeah, I can definitely tell a difference, and it's like way better already. So I'm happy about that. And I definitely, just in terms of how I felt with it, it felt more comfortable for me. And so I'm excited about that. Because I had told Elena like I need to work on arms before November. So I'm really glad that we have this class.
I need to too.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not doing Latin in November, so I really don't need to work on my arms before November, but I need to work on my arms in general.
Exactly. Yeah. It's something you can always practice. It's like, it seems like it's something you always can practice. And that's the thing with dance, is like, I think just especially with us being students, but I know pros or even our instructors, like I just feel like all of us feel like we can always get better. Like like there's always like building blocks we can always build off of every time, even if we feel comfortable with something.
Yeah, I think for me, like, I know I'm trying to figure out a better way to kind of just have like a more consistent way of constantly like have a more steady state of being able to like always be practicing and always be working out and all that. And I think I think I've just, because when I was skating all the time, it was like all day, and even just like the past 5 years that I've been at my job, it's like a big change from being I was working as a skating coach, and then I was skating during the day. I was also tutoring some of the homeschooled kids, so like I was kind of just working all the time at like all different hours, and I was exercising at all different hours, and I was on my feet for most of my job. And then it changes, like, I do some active things at work. I'm like getting up and talking to people, but it's like, it's so different being in the 9 to 5 job, and then you're working, and then you've got to, like, I've got to exercise like either in the middle of the day or in the morning or on the weekend, or like sometimes you can break away from the computer for a bit, or like take it during your lunch hour or work out or something. So it's like, it's just not the same. And I haven't found a good way to balance working out just in general, dancing and skating, and doing it all, because it's like it also fluctuates from week to week. So I'm still trying to figure out that balance, and it's difficult. And like the pandemic changed a lot, and then it's like work stuff. So I'm trying to figure that out. But I think that's the thing. Like, and I know I can't be at the studio every night for like classes or practicing. So that's why I kind of had to get to the point where, like, I think at the beginning of the year, I was going every night for all the classes, and I was starting to burn out. I was like, I have to kind of just pick and choose week to week. And then like, because then I have to do stuff at home too. Like I have to do errands and things. It's like, if I don't have any time, I don't get to do it. So that is an ongoing thing for me of trying to balance it all. But I'm hoping going into next year, I can figure out some sort of like general thing. But
me too. And that's
just adding to your point.
No, exactly. And I completely agree. It actually is helpful, because like I talked about last week with me having my jazz dance class, like sometimes, since the studio is there that we do the class in, like I'll usually, because I have that class twice a week, and like sometimes I'd say about 80% of the time I'll show up like half an hour before the class and just practice my own routines in there, because I'm in there usually. And so it was actually really funny, because the first week that I did that, I don't think many people dance in there, like, because it's they call it the aerobics studio, but like we do the class in there. But people usually go in there and kind of do cardio and sit-ups and push-ups and yoga and stuff like that. And so I was the only one in there. And they usually like have this like kind of like gym curtain that they like close around the basketball court when we're doing the class, but they haven't opened any like every other time besides that. And I was practicing like my Latin stuff in there, and I saw people like looking over, watching it, like, what's going on in there? It was so.
Who's this guy? Good. Let them watch you, and then tell them to listen on the podcast.
Exactly. It's like, hey, watch
advertising.
Exactly. Free advertising. I know. But yeah, kind of going back to your point. I try to. I guess I'm usually at the studio most nights, and so I try to get some practice in then. Usually, of course, I can't do it every night, just because like sometimes the classes go late, or my lesson goes late, because usually my lessons are at 8:30 and they end like at 9:30, 9:45, and so then it's just like, by the time everything's done and get home, I'm tired, but then like again,
we need to watch 6 hours of television at some point.
Television, yeah, exactly. We have all this stuff to talk about. So yeah, exactly. I know what you mean, and so that's the thing, is that because I've been starting to work out a lot more too, just kind of on my own besides dance, just to kind of get my stamina up, just like in life, but also getting ready for the competition.
Yeah.
So I think trying to find that workout, dance, like all extracurricular things balance is definitely a challenge, but it's something I definitely want to do, and have been working hard to do, just because it's hard. I kind of tried to do everything at once a long time ago, and it definitely does not work. So exactly.
I know that. That's why I'm like, even the stuff that I'm all doing, I'm like, I got to do it in a way that it's cohesive, that they all help each other,
Exactly. So the next class, so then the second class yesterday was the intermediate smooth class, which was a lot of fun. It was really cool, and we were all kind of talking in a circle. It was just 4 of us yesterday. Was it 4? 5 of us, including David. So and we're all talking and we were deciding what dance we wanted to do last night. And then Elena came over and she was like, what are you guys doing for Smooth? And then David, we were all talking and he was like, oh, we're deciding between Tango and Viennese Waltz. And then she said Viennese Waltz, and that's what we did. So Viennese Waltz is actually that, like I said, with me, with like obviously I'm excited to learn all the standard dances when I start doing that, but actually what like I'd say the biggest dance that I've wanted to learn has been quick step, but a close second is Viennese Waltz, just because like me watching Dancing with the Stars for a long time and just all that stuff. Like I talked about, I would say those are the two dances like in Smooth, that, or Smooth and Standard, that besides quick step, but you know what I'm talking about, that like just those are the two dances that I really like love, that have really intrigued me, even though I love all of them. But those are the ones that I'm like, oh, these, like out of the ones that I'm going to be learning, I'm excited to learn these like first, or at least like I think these are going to be really cool. And so we did Viennese Waltz yesterday, and man, when you watch Viennese Waltz like on Dancing with the Stars or just like pros doing it, like obviously it's like waltz, so it's going to be slow. No, it's like it's not.
No, Viennese
Waltz is not slow. It is not slow at all. And I had never, like I said, I don't even think we've done. I don't think we've done Viennese Waltz in a group class, because like I know.
Did you not know that? You thought Viennese Waltz was slow.
No, I know, I knew it was fast. I'm just saying,
okay.
No. I'm just saying in terms of no. I'm just saying that like kind of like me saying, oh, it's slow. People might perceive it as
people might perceive that it's slow.
Yeah, people, no, it's not. I knew it was fast, but the kind of like biggest, like what I'm trying to get at is like it was way faster than I expected it to be.
Oh yeah. Oh no, it's really fast. I can't. Sometimes my feet are like sliding all over the place when I'm dancing with David, because it's like you have to make the steps big, and he's a lot taller than me, so it's like you got to keep up. And I think even more with standard, because you're like in hold. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Exactly, and that's what we did. Exactly. And like I said, when you watch it, just like pros like dancing Viennese Waltz, it's like, oh, it's so elegant. It looks like, because they usually dance to like slower music, but the count is like what David talked about yesterday. It's with the count's way faster, and it's in two halves, like salsa. He kind of made it kind of like two threes, just like in salsa, but just sideways instead of front to back. And because of that pause, you kind of have to like be ready for it, or that like you said, you can't like rush all through it, because you can't rush through all 6 steps, because then it's gonna like, obviously it's not gonna work. So and so we did Viennese Waltz, and it was so much fun, but like I said, man, it was fast. Like I said, I knew it was fast, but it was just way faster than I expected it to be. And like you said, because we just did the 6-step basic just around the floor. I feel like I had gotten the hang of it. The thing that David had told me that I needed to like work on, this based on like kind of watching me, was Viennese Waltz is a lot like the tango kind of like leg work, where you're kind of like sunk in your knees a little bit, not kind of extending that can be a little bit like it like takes a little bit of getting used to, because like obviously you don't stand like with 2 bent legs like when you're usually standing. No. And with me doing Latin, it's all about the straight legs. So that's
I've run into that too. That I'm
exactly.
You're not going to be able to stay on time.
You're not. And then he was like, when you're going to be dancing with somebody, he's like, if you do it, like if you like doing that yourself, it's fine, but once you're with a partner, you're going to be like walking all over them, and it's just going to be like, oh my gosh, it's like all like it's just crazy. No, it's a lot. So yeah, exactly, we did that. It was a lot of fun. We danced to, I think, a slower song, and then David put on like one of these, like I actually practiced this all the time. It was like a smooth like round thing, and he just picked the Viennese Waltz song in that, and like we actually danced to the actual like competition speed, because he wanted to get the 3 other people who are dancing straight standard, they to kind of get them prepared for the actual competition speed. And then at the end, we all danced with David, and then I danced with Elena too, because she saw me. She's like, "Okay, I want you to go through this." And it, man, like I said, it was fast when I like was just kind of doing the basic myself. My gosh, it is like so fast when I'm like when you're leading somebody, because I led David, and like I felt like the room was spinning. It was just like so just like a way like taller guy. So like oh my gosh, it was just like so crazy. It was a lot of fun. And then Elena said that I did pretty good as well. So I'm happy about that. Like I said, I was not expecting, it was my first time really doing Viennese Waltz in frame. So I was like not going to expect to be like, oh my gosh, it's going to feel so comfortable for me. I knew it wasn't. But it was just a lot of fun to do, and I'm excited to actually start learning it and actually come up with a routine for the future. But yeah, that was that class. And then today's the last class of the week and it's jive, which is going to be great because that's my newest Latin routine. So I'm really excited to have that class.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So much going on with classes.
Oh yeah. And then now, and you started your showcase.
Yeah. So I'm actually starting it next week, which is going to be exciting. I think that would be fun. Like I talked about I obviously kind of just like the formation dance. I haven't seen the choreography yet. I'll start seeing kind of like the choreography that Elena comes up with in the story that she kind of wants to tell based on what like the notes and kind of ideas I gave her with the song and stuff. But and I'm so excited to see that. But besides like it kind of along with the formation dance, this is kind of something you kind of want to showcase. You usually want to kind of keep a surprise.
Yeah. You don't need to.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need too many details, but
right.
you are making progress.
Exactly. Yeah, I am making progress about it. And Elena today was really helpful because this is what I did like 2 months ago. I made like a Google Doc of the song. I copy and pasted the song lyrics, and then I put like notes next to every lyric and said, oh, hey, this is what I want to tell with this lyric based on like kind of what I'm trying to express. And then I kind of gave like an overall kind of synopsis of what I wanted the dance to be. And she said that was really helpful. So I was glad I made that. And I just know it's going to be amazing. And I just think it's going to be so great to actually perform that. Like I had told you and a few other people, the dance is going to be like a very kind of like vulnerable, kind of like personal, me opening up of like things I've overcame kind of like story that I'm telling. And by the song, you might not guess that, but it's kind of more about the lyrics, because it's more of like an aggressive song. But I think that's actually going to make it a lot of fun. And it's like not a traditional, and usually showcase songs it's not a traditional like ballroom song, but it's going to make it fun. And so I think it's just going to be great. I'm really excited to work on it. And it's going to definitely be like quick because we have like, I don't even like 6 weeks into the competition. And so it's going to come up quickly, but I'm really excited about it. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, that's going to be one of the great things about me competing in November is that I like have been really excited to show you guys this thing. So I'm so glad you guys are going to be able to see it in person. So I think
I'm looking forward to seeing it too.
Yeah, I think it'll be great.
My goodness. Oh gosh. All right. Should we go on to Dancing with the Stars?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So how about, I think we like the format we did last week. So how about you start, let's just go through all your honorable mentions. And then if there's any that I had that you didn't have, I'll mention them. Okay. So start with your first one.
Okay. With honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good.
We'll work our way up.
Okay. That sounds good. So a little kind of background. It wasn't, this is like, I'm sure most people know this who watch Dancing with the Stars. But this was James Bond week, which was really cool, and it was kind of just celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Bond franchise, which was really cool. And I feel like I did a great job with that. I really liked the theme. I thought it was very unique. So that was a side note. But and I know we'll probably talk about that when we go on the like kind of like overall thoughts of the episode. But I thought that was really good. Let me just get to my honorable mentions. Oh, right here. Okay, so my first one was Joseph and Alexis. And they did the Argentine tango. And this was like we said last week, this was the second week that Alexis danced with Joseph because Danny was still kind of quarantining, but they confirmed that she's gonna be back next week, which is gonna be great. But I just thought and I'm really happy that they got to kind of showcase Alexis as a pro because like I've talked about, and I know a lot of other kind of fans have said it. I hope she becomes a pro at some point because I think she's really great just based on her dance background, and she's just like choreographer and everything. So I think it would be great. So they danced the Argentine tango. I didn't write down the songs because I'm sure you can kind of like.
No, it's okay.
It's not the biggest it's not the biggest deal. But I feel like the
I'll look them up. Go watch the dances.
You go watch the dances. Go on YouTube.
We want to inspire you.
Exactly. If you want to just look it up, go on YouTube. All the songs are there. But I thought the footwork was good again, and then I think his strong suit with dancing is his arms. I really do like his arm work for being such a big guy. And it seemed like I really think he's gaining more confidence. At least it seems like that to me.
Yeah.
I said I think I think he's always led well in the 3 dances that he's done. I feel like he's led very well. Being a bigger guy. I said I think maybe something he can work on is his legs a little bit, just because just maybe keeping him making him his leg work a little sharper. But I think it maybe it's a little bit difficult for him since he's a little taller. are
Yeah.
pretty tall, and so I just think that's probably a little bit harder for him to do that. But I said I loved. I thought the lift was great. I know everybody was talking about that. I thought the lift was
Mhm.
awesome. I thought the musicality was really good, and I felt like he was very improved. I said very much,
Yeah.
which I agree. I think he was improved from the Venus Waltz last week. So I thought that was
Yeah.
great. And then they got 1 8 and 3 7s, which I thought was pretty
Yeah,
decent.
he was also on mine. I thought the routine was really good. I thought the Argentine tango was really good because I saw like the intricacy with like the footwork and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Me too.
yeah, I mean I thought he did a good job. So
Me too.
I was happy with it. Yeah, he was on my honorable mentions also.
Okay, awesome. So I knew we talked about this. We're probably gonna have some that overlap, which
Yeah, I think we're gonna be crisscrossing. That's why I'm like,
exactly,
you
I
go through
know.
your list and then
Exactly. Let's see. All right. So my next one was Heidi and Artem, and they also danced the Argentine tango.
Mhm.
And I thought her footwork was great. I really thought it was great.
Yeah.
I said like I think just like Joseph, I think she's gained a lot more confidence, which I'm really happy about, especially when she kind of said in her package a week ago on the second night or second week that she was almost going to quit just because like she just felt like just so overwhelmed with everything, and
Mhm.
like, rehearsing was so difficult and grueling for her. So I just think like I really think that kind of like dancer that she kind of said, the dance experience that she had when she was Charlie's age, like when she was growing up, I'm seeing that in her now a
Yeah.
lot. Like she doesn't seem uncomfortable to me, which is like
Mhm.
really great, and I'm happy about that. And I love the choreo. I thought Artem's choreo was great. I really felt the power in that dance. I really
Yeah.
felt I thought she had a lot of power and just like a lot of fire in the dance,
Mhm.
which obviously Argentine tango you have to have, but that's kind of one of the key kind of aspects of the dance.
Yeah.
Is having a lot of passion and a lot of power. I agreed with Derek that I hands down I think that's her best dance.
Yeah, I agree.
And then they got all 4 8s, which I think was pretty fair. And like I said with the choreo, there was so much Argentine tango content in there that I really loved. I like when the choreography mixes in like kind of some uniqueness, but also has a lot of the content that you're looking for in that dance.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Artem had done the one that we've talked about previously with like Caitlin Bristow when they did the Britney Spears one. So like I know he's good at choreographing Argentine. I kept it on the fence. I like was kind of like futzing around with my top and like honorable mentions. I think I do agree it was her best dance so far. I personally felt like Joseph and Alexis's was a little bit stronger, just like as an Argentine
agree.
tango. But
Yeah.
I think it's so hard sometimes when I'm watching. I'm just because especially when the pro is the woman, I feel like you just naturally are like watching it. I don't know. It
Well, I
just
agree.
happens sometimes. But Heidi definitely looked a lot stronger.
Yes.
And I think it was her it was definitely her best dance so far. So I thought it was really good too. I was kind of like on the fence, but it was like, yeah, it was on my honorable mentions too.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's the thing, and I completely agree about your point about like you kind of are like debating on what you're watching, and I think that's probably I feel so bad, not bad, but I'm just like I commend the judges because they literally have one time to watch the dance. Because they haven't watched any rehearsals, anything like that. And actually, from what I've heard, is that they put their score in before they walk over to the judge's desk. So like they have to like watch the dance and within like 10 seconds give their score. So it's like they have really quick time to like actually process what they watched. So that's usually with me. I'll like watch the dance like at least 5 times before I write my notes down. So I just thought that was it's crazy because like you watch it from different angles, like you have to like concentrate on different things. So I definitely with that, but yeah, I agree. Her best dance hands down for me.
Okay. Do you have one more?
Yeah, I have one more. So
or well, at least you have more.
Yeah.
One more before we have to change Zoom.
Yes, exactly. It's Zoom
in the scenes.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So my next one is Jordan and Brandon. And then they did the again, I was contemplating kind of the same thing. I was contemplating if I was going to put it in my top. But again, it was just kind of like I don't know if it kind of resonated to me or with me as much. Like I don't think it resonated with me as much for me to put it into my top, but I still liked it a lot to where I wanted to put in my honorable mentions. And she danced the rumba. And I really love the vibe and the wardrobe. They're kind of mysterious, kind of like blacklit, kind of really cool. I really thought her arms and hips were really good. At least it seemed like she was really like improved with that, which I'm really happy about. I thought the choreo by Brandon was great, and I really, really liked it. I thought that thing coming up from like the bed or like that whatever thing she kind of like was really cool. I agreed with Len. I definitely agree with Len with her working on her turns. I did agree that I feel like that sometimes they could be a little wobbly, uh,
Hmm.
but I thought there was a lot of rumba content, which I really really love again. And I said for sure improvement from last week. And I agree with Len that it was hands down her best dance as well. And
Yeah.
also I agree with Carrie Ann that she has a natural sensuality about her.
Hmm.
Like I felt like that's why this dance seemed very natural to her too. It didn't seem like she was very uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
I that's what I liked about it. And then they got 3 7s and an 8, which I thought was fair. So yeah, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that dance a lot.
I agree. I think her Roomba, it was the best dance she's done so far. And I at that point in the like episode, I was like, maybe she could be one of the top dances. I think the hardest part with all of them after Trevor's Roomba last week, I
I
feel
know.
like there was such a standard set with that I don't even think anybody's Roomba was as good as that,
I
honestly,
don't either.
this week. So I was like, we have this precedent, so it was kind of hard. But no, Jordan did a great job, and I think no, I thought it was all fair. Like I definitely wanted to put her in honorable mentions, even though it was like maybe once I saw the whole episode, I was like, maybe not one of the top dances, but
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. But I'm very impressed.
Hmm. Okay, yeah. So we were breaking the fourth wall there. So we're still using the 40-minute Zoom thing. So time management. Anyway. All right. So who did you have next after Jordan?
Very good point. Very good point. So next after Jordan, I had Daniel and Britt, and they also did a rumba.
Hmm.
Again, that was another one where I contemplated putting them in my top. Again, it was like a kind of like millimeter, like kind of like difference for me. Like
Yeah,
I would
I
have,
did put them in my top,
yeah, that's
but
what
I'll
I
explain why
assumed.
later.
Yeah,
So
I
you
know
go.
that's what I assumed. So it was like because when you said you had 6 tops and I had 5 top dances, that's what I assumed that was the 6. That was not mine. But like I said, it was like a millimeter kind of like difference for me putting it
Mhm.
in the top, and so there was not much difference at all. With that, I thought it was great. They like I said, they danced another rumba,
Mhm.
and and he was saying in his package that the rumba was a little harder to learn since there are since there is not as many beats in the music as Jive and Tango, which has been
Mhm.
obviously his last 2 dances or his first 2 dances. And I said I absolutely love how Britt has really put so much effort into communicating well with him. I just think it's so awesome. Like, it seems like she's really picking up ASL like well, which is great, and I'm happy about that. It
Mhm.
just shows that she's like really committed to her partner, which I think
Yeah.
is really really awesome. And I had said that I thought his arms were good. I said confident as always from the first week. He's like there's been
Mhm.
no kind of like no doubt that he has confidence because like he didn't seem like overwhelmed at all or anything like that. He just has that game phase, which is
Yeah.
like so awesome, which I love. I thought his posture was really good. I said I really think he leads very well. I thought he leads Brit
Mhm.
very well.
Yeah.
I think he did really great. And I said his facial expressions are great. I love his facial expressions. He's always like down and he's always down with it. I'm like, let's go. And I said I definitely think he's improved from last week too. If I had to say like I really loved his tango, but I think I would probably agree this is probably his best dance too. So
So I put him in the top because I think it was hard, like I was saying before about the Roomba. It was just so hard to like really look at all the Roombas because I was like comparing it to Trevor last
I
week.
know,
But
I know.
I think that like I kind of went back and I know I changed the numbers a little bit after I sent you, but of like how many honorable mentions versus top dances I had. But I think like when I went back in my mind over the episode, I was like, he had one of the best Roombas of the night. So that's why I was like, I think that was one
Yeah,
of the ones that was top. I think again, I also noted that I think he did a great job leading. And I know it was a little bit more of a challenge for him. So but yeah, I thought it was one of the best ones of the night. Cause like just when they show like the clip at the end, I was like, oh yeah, he was one of the top ones.
yeah,
So
no, I agree.
yeah,
That's the thing is they like
it was
show you
really
like,
good.
oh yeah, like I love that they do the recap and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I again, I probably again, it was good, really, really good to where
Hmm.
I probably would have put it in my top dances. So it's like it was kind of like on the fence for me,
I was.
and yeah, I would definitely put it in my top dance as well, even though it was in my honorable mentions. But I really, really loved it. I thought it was great.
Did you have any
Um,
others?
I
Honorable
have
mention.
one more. Wait,
Okay.
yes, I have 2 more actually. Yeah, I have 2 more.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
do you have any more?
No, I have two more. Two
Okay,
more
cool.
honorable mentions. We'll
So
see.
my okay, cool. So my second to last one is Trevor and Emma, and
Okay.
they did a tango, and I really love, and this is kind of this is something that Absolutely like love when they do this, because obviously tango is usually kind of like they had the traditional kind of like tango like kind of vibe to it, but I've always loved on the show when they've done kind of like the more rock style kind of tangos. I've just always liked that. I think it makes it really energetic, which I like. And that's kind of what the song they danced to was, very like kind of rock based, which I thought was really cool. And that's why I said it was very energetic. And again, he has no signs that he's scared of dancing anymore, so like I think that's kind of cool. And I said that I think that he's improved just a lot based from like his week 1 performance. I would definitely say I was going to say that I think his frame was decent. I was going to say I definitely agree with what Derek was saying, that I felt like his leading hand could be a little higher at times. Because like Derek was saying, the frame has to be kind of completely full out, and sometimes it kind of dropped like this, so his hand kind of was like lower in the frame from what I could tell. So I think that's something like with any of the other ballroom dances that they do, that's something he could work on. But I really like the choice and the song choice and the choreo. I thought it was really good. And again, it's just like tango. Again, it was full of tango content, which I really, really love. And again, with Emma, her choreography is so good that I just think it's just really showcasing her choreography and like just showing how good it is. I just thought there was like so much to kind of look at with that dance, which was really good. So yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I didn't have them as my honorable mention or top, but he did do really well. I thought it was pretty good. I think, again, I kept comparing it to last week, and I was like, it wasn't as good as the last week.
No, exactly.
But it was good. Yeah. So
that's the reason why I didn't want to like completely take him out of my honorable mentions, because they were in my top last week.
Yeah.
But like, because obviously I did not think it was good. No, exactly. I didn't want to like it was not as good for me to put them in my top dances. Like I felt like I enjoyed the rumba last week better than this week, and that's why like it was, like I said, they were my top last week but not this week. But I didn't want to completely take them out of the top of the honorable mentions at all, because I didn't want to talk about them at all, because I still enjoyed the dance a lot. So that's why I put them in my honorable mentions. And going back to they got the 6 and 2 3 7s. I thought that was fair, and I hadn't said Daniel and Britt got 3 8s and a 7, which I didn't say, but and I think all the fairs are pretty fair tonight or on Monday. So I have one more. Do you want to say yours?
No, you go. What was your last one?
Okay, so this is actually kind of like an interesting pick, just based on just kind of like the actual outcome of all this. But Cheryl and Louis, and the reason I put them in my honorable mentions is because obviously, like, we'll get to it, but she was the person that got eliminated from the episode. And the reason I put them in there is because I really felt like her confidence came back this week from last week, because obviously last week I think she just beat up on herself, and she was just really upset just of what kind of the way the dance went, and I felt really bad about that. But obviously, like, I just think that shows how dedicated she is to it. And I was like, at the rumble walks at the beginning, I was like, wow, like that's awesome. It was like, it was so good. And then, like I said, and so obviously she did a rumba, and I was like, she got her confidence back. I thought this was the perfect balance of kind of what Carrie Ann was asking for from me. Was I felt like it was like not too complicated of a routine, but I felt like I still had a lot of detail in it, because I think that was the problem last week. As I think when Carrie Ann was like, oh, I think the cha-cha routine in week 1 was a little bit too easy for her. I think Louis put in a little bit too much maybe than what Cheryl would be comfortable doing, and then she just kind of tried to go through it, and it just was a little bit more difficult. So I think his choreo this week was kind of a good balance of the two, which was great. And she was a great performer. Like I said, even though like 71 years old, you could never tell. She's so good. And has that like kind of that feisty spirit, and I'm like, let's go. It's so cool. So yeah, today that was my last one.
Sorry, my mom had to just like tell me something, but I heard you. I'm just like muting. I'm like, okay. No, it's fine. No, I didn't have her in my honorable mentions or my top one, but I completely agree. I was happy to see, because I know she did get eliminated, but I was happy to see she had like a really good performance on the last night she was there, because I think it was like I think that's the thing is at least if people are getting eliminated earlier on, it's like you want everybody to kind of feel like they had like their one night that it was like they really delivered on it on
And
their
that's-
routine,
yes.
and that was 100% why. Because that's why I think even when was it Derek? One of them said that it's like if I had to go based on just tonight, I would pick Cheryl and Louis, but based on like over all the weeks, they picked Sam.
Yeah.
And I think that was why, because I think that was really it. But
No, I agree. And I think
yeah.
the thing with her is that like again, it might be like people might be thinking, oh, you put her on your honorable mentions, like, oh, she got eliminated. But again, it's like
no.
But she really improved.
Yeah.
And again, this was like the best, and this was the best dance, like hands down, that she did. And again,
Yes.
it's like I wanted to see her, like if she was going to get eliminated, go out with like a great performance, and hands down, this was the one.
Yeah.
So that's why I put it in there, because I thought it was great.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I think we have like a different barometer of how we're picking it, but I think it's like we start to get into the point where I'm like, everybody's doing well. It's hard to like pick, but I'm like collectively for the night. That was the thing. So, those are all of your honorable mentions.
Yeah, that's all mine.
Okay, so I had two other ones.
Okay. Cool.
Sam and Cheryl.
Okay.
Their samba was really. I mean, like it's not that I didn't think he would do well. I just, he had the 2 weeks that it was the smooth style and not with like Latin, and I was just like, yeah, he went out there and he was like shimmying and he did his whole thing.
Great.
So I was like, it was really good. I thought it was really good.
Agree.
I don't know, what did you think?
No, I agree. Like I said, I actually almost put them in my honorable mentions as well, because I really love the dance. And again, they had the two smooth dances like for the first 2 weeks. I was like, first Latin dance for him. Let's see how he does. And like he killed it. It was awesome. And I thought Cheryl's choreography was very creative, because it did a lot of things where they were like together, but then also doing stuff separately, and they were like interacting with people and stuff like that. So I just thought it just had a lot of cool things in it, and I just absolutely loved it. And I think he is getting a little bit more confident and comfortable with dancing, because obviously I think obviously in his packages it seems like he kind of says that it can be a little bit difficult, but I really loved it. I thought it was great. I love that kind of like, again, fiery energy he has. It was really cool.
No, 100%. And then my other one was Jesse and Alan. That they did the Roomba, and she had that gold outfit, and it was okay. I just thought it was hilarious because Caitlin Bristol like posted something on Instagram, and she's like, "How is Alan's shirt still white when she's wearing the gold thing?" I don't know what they used, but I thought it was amazing. And then I feel like they were more critical because it wasn't as good as last week, and I just feel like Derek was just so much better at giving feedback. I forgot exactly what he said, but I think it was just a little more positive, because I think, like Alan was like trying to like keep her composed, and then Derek like gave her, however he phrased it, and you see Alan's face like just change.
Yeah, I know.
He gave the feedback, and I was like, no, I mean, she did well. I think, and this is just something in general, like this is episode 3. Now when you start to get to episode 4 and 5, you're going to see it's going to start to become a little more of a, because you have the people that they're on the top from the beginning, but I think that's what Carrie Ann even said, like later on, she was saying about like, there's a lot of tight, it's tight at the top. So that's the point, is like, you're going to start noticing like who's really pushing themselves to learn more of these things, and who's going to be kind of that they're just like struggling to get to that next level. And it's not that people aren't doing well. I think it's just, we're going to start to see like how many of these people that they're not nailing every one of them the first few weeks, are they going to start to trend like in a positive direction, or are they going to kind of keep going? And every dance is different every week. It's like a totally different style, but I think you're going to start to get to the point now in week 4 where they're going to at least do something that's similar to something they've done,
right?
So we'll start to see more of that division, but I think I think she has it in her. But
no, I do too. And again, like I almost put her in my honorable mentions as well. Again, it was just, well, it was partly because of the fact that like I didn't want to have too many, and like it was just so long that I was explaining it.
Like, but I can't pick everybody.
I know, exactly. It's like I can't pick everybody, even though if I enjoy it, but I enjoyed the performance. But the thing was is that, and that's the thing, again, going back to Derek, is that like, I don't think, again, I think Carrie Ann can also give very like okay feedback, but I also feel like sometimes like I feel like the judges, the 2 judges that can give feedback that is like not mean sounding at times are Bruno and Derek. Like I feel like those are the ones that are like, hey, just think about this next time. That's kind of like their like feedback, which I really like, but like, good job on this. Like they still praise them about something, which I like. But sometimes like sometimes Carrie Ann and Len, and again, I don't think it's like trying to be mean, but they can kind of just flat out say what they thought. And then
Yeah.
that's like, oh man. It's
They're
like,
being picky. Yeah. I mean, and it's like, it's hard. They only get that, like you said, it's like one time through, they're gonna give their feedback. And it's like,
right.
obviously, I don't think they think they're like, I don't know, whatever. It is what it is. It's like we know how it is. I think
was good.
Derek's just better at like giving that same criticism, but like saying it more positively.
Again, I think it's just again, I just think it's because he was a former pro. So
he's been on the other side.
Yeah. On the other side, so he knows. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so we'll switch to top dances. So
okay,
what did you have?
All right. So I will, you know what? I'll actually start at the top of my list. I was gonna go from the bottom. Okay. So top of my list is again, it is no particular order, it's just based on the order of the dances that they danced in the order of the night. But first one is Charlie and Mark, like obviously. They did the rumba, which is really cool because in the package he said, oh, we're gonna make this kind of like a contemporary rumba, which you could definitely see in the choreography. And I said I love the outfits and the vibe, and like I thought that song choice was great for the like the dance, because again it kind of had like that rumba plus contemporary vibe to it, and I think again it was kind of like 50-50, which I thought was great. And again, I said there was a lot of contemporary moves in there and great choreography and story. Again, her performance quality is great, and like again, great facial expressions, facial expressions. Like that point when she ended the dance, and I looked down at him and kind of like did that like kind of like menacing grin, and then looked at the camera. I was like, wow, like she's really playing up the character. That's awesome. And then I thought her arms were great. I thought her legs were great. I agree with Derek's storytelling with because he said that there was a lot of storytelling in that routine, which I definitely agree with him on that. And then Carrie Ann said maybe she can perform a little bit outwards more, and I do agree with that about that too. I think like a lot of the people can, but I definitely agree with that. I loved how they had those like different things that they were doing. It's like obviously they were like in hold sometimes, and then they were kind of doing like stuff like again like separately, like side to side, but then like that kind of thing where she was at the table and like did the like cup switching thing and then went back, and then even with that they were kind of like going back and forth. I just thought it was great. I really loved it. And again, I thought it was cool that Mark kind of like mixed contemporary with rumba together. I just thought it fit great, and I really liked it. If I had, again, I really loved her cha-cha, but I would probably say this is her best dance too for me.
So I was honestly on the fence if I wanted her to be honorable mention or top, and I think it was the first one of the night.
Yeah.
And I was comparing it to Trevor's Roomba.
Oh,
that's
right.
The choreography and the whole storytelling and all of her just like general performance quality as far as like a technical and just like watching it was great. Like it was really good. And I think that's why part of me was just that I think that what you were saying about Carrie Ann saying about performing more outwardly. I think that's, I think it was definitely something that I know she was kind of struggling with, because like literally they're talking in the thing about how she was like the whole eye contact thing to me, and she starts laughing. I was like, this is me in practice.
I know. I did
100%.
Exactly. That was the thing, is that right when she said that, I'm like, oh, like even before you posted that thing, I was like, Camille's going to talk about this.
This is 100%. I know it's hard, and I think and it's crazy because Mark's mom was the one that really like nailed me on it when she had the coaching lesson. So I was like, did Shirley work with her and Mark? Because did she say the same thing? But she's also significantly younger than me, and that's the advantage of like, she's not necessarily an actress, she's a performer, and she's younger, so it's harder. And I mean, just because I'm older, it's something I still struggle with too, because it's a different level of performance that you really have to give for Roomba, and she did great with what I knew that she could do. So I mean, I'm critical of it, but I also know that it's something I need to work on. But I was hoping she would have been able to push herself a little more, but it's hard to do it in a week. I've been working on it for years, and she's trying to do it in a week. So it was really good. I think it's just that I was kind of just trying to compare it to like the other Rumbas. And I think that's just one thing that sometimes the age and the experience factor can hurt a little bit. But I mean, the choreography and all of it was amazing. It was amazing. So that's why I was like, you know what, I'm gonna put it in my top one.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was great. And I completely agree with everything you said. I think the thing with I could have definitely seen that, like if they didn't have the bond, that I definitely could have seen that being like a Halloween dance if they had
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Halloween night, hands
Yeah.
down. And they got the 3 8 and a 9. I think that's pretty fair. And yeah, so yeah, I really thought the dance was really good as well, and I like the just whole vibe of it. I agree with you. I thought it was really good.
Okay.
So
All right,
the next one
your
I
next
have,
one.
yeah. So my next one is Selma and Sasha, and they did a rumba,
Mhm.
and they, again, this is kind of like I said, talking about this is kind of what they did this with Niall and Peta during the freestyle one time, where she was blindfolded because she was talking about in her package that obviously with her condition that she, like, there's a lot, like sensory overload is definitely something that she struggles with, and that has
Mhm.
something that she's like noticed the last like first 2 weeks of the competition, to like the music and the lights and the cameras and everything like that, like she's like so much
Yeah.
having to concentrate on it, and it's like trying to do the dance is like kind of like overwhelming. So I thought that was a great, because actually that Sasha said that was the idea he came up with, is like maybe let's eliminate one of the senses for a minute, just so like maybe you don't completely stress out about the dance. And I thought
Yeah.
that was a really great kind of thing to do,
Mhm.
and a great idea. I thought her lines and arms were really good. I really liked it. I thought her hip action was really good. Um, I thought the choreo was very creative, just based on the whole blindfolding kind of aspect of it.
Mhm.
And I love how determined she is. I thought it was like, and I absolutely love that. I love how determined she is. And she got, I actually probably, I'm not, because I heard a lot of people talking about this. I was actually thinking it might have been a little underscored, but I don't know, because
Yeah.
like maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot exactly what her score was. I mean, I agree.
It
I
was
had
four
her in my
sevens.
top one too. What did she say? What
It
did
was,
she say?
it was 4 7s.
She could have gotten at least 1 8. I
Yeah,
think
I
I
thought she would have gotten at least 1 8 though.
at least 1 8. I think that it was a great idea for the blindfolding, and I think it kind of also just happened to work well with the dance, because I think, listen, I can get overstimulated too by all this, but I think it's just there's a certain level of like her body will react to that overstimulation. So I think it helped her focus on it, and it worked well with the style of the dance. And I think I thought it was really good. I thought it was a great performance. Again, I think the hip action and everything, it was a step up for her, even
Yes.
from the previous week. So no, I 100%, she was in my top. She was in my top also.
Exactly. I thought she was great, and I've loved seeing how like more comfortable that she's gotten, because I know she's like talked about like, oh, it's kind of like I've been really trying to push through, but sometimes it's been a struggle, but I really do think that she's enjoying it, and I'm really happy about that for sure. Exactly.
Yes. Okay, who do you have next?
So my next is Wayne and Whitney, of course, of course, of course.
Yeah.
They did the tango, and I, again, Wayne with the storytelling like performance, like he's like the king of like of just performing. He's like so good at it, and just like so like just, again, there's like no doubt in my mind when you watch him that he's a performer.
Yeah.
And then I thought his frame and footwork were actually really good, especially because this was his first ballroom dance. And I thought he did very well. I thought that he had the power and the intensity that, again, the tango kind of calls for. And again, it didn't seem like he had any knee problems to me. So I know he's talking about that. I think the thing I love about him is that, like, I've noticed, I'm sure you've noticed this, I'm assuming you have, that like after the dance is done, or like if when they've gotten their scores the first 3 weeks, he seems like so genuinely happy.
Oh, yeah.
Like when the dance like ended, when he was supposed to be so serious, or like when the character was serious, they had the camera still on him, like right when the dance ended, and he could just not stop smiling. And I thought that was so awesome.
And I was supposed to be mad because we just got like robbed.
No, exactly.
Style of the dance.
Exactly. So you can just tell how genuinely like humble he is, and also how genuinely like how much he loves doing this, which is like awesome. And I know I'm just so excited to see him go far. He's going to be amazing. And he got 3 8 and a 9, which I thought was fair. Again, I thought it was great.
Yeah, they've still got those three of them tied up at the top, but yeah, it was amazing. I really didn't have many other details aside from that. I agree with everything you said. It was good. It was good. I think like his jive was good last week. I honestly feel like this was better, the tango. So yeah. So who did you have? would you have next?
Okay, so my next one is what'd you say?
We probably have the same for the last two.
Yes, last two. So Shangela and Gleb, yes. They did the rumba, another rumba. And I thought her arms and hip action was great. And I wrote in all confidence, I was like, all capital, in all caps, I was like, love her confidence. I just thought her confidence is just so good. And I just like, again, I love the attitude that she comes in with. And even when I know he says he, him in the package. So when he, like in the package and when she during the live show, I just love that Angela is just so like comes in with that, like, I'm going to be me and I'm going to come up here and be great. I just love the attitude that she has. I think it's like so great. And so I think that's amazing. Again, I don't think they could have paired her with a better partner and better pro than Gleb. Just like, it's the best partnership for me, hands down. I thought it was fierce, which I really loved. And I agreed with Bruno and Derek that like the footwork and the walks could have been a little bit smoother. But besides that, I thought the dance was great. I really, really loved it. I actually probably, because she got 2 8s and 2 7s, I probably would have given another 8, but that's me. But I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was really good. And I think she at one point was like, well, when I'm dressed with Shangela, you know, I can bring that sexiness.
Yes.
Like during practice. Which is like, yeah, it's like maybe not right now, but
exactly.
dressed up as Shangela, I can bring that sexiness.
She's
and
great.
The other part was like, any dance, just stay in one place. And Gleb's like, no.
Exactly.
But no, I agree. She was up in my top as well. And then
we're obviously gonna have the same last one.
Last but not least, go ahead.
Last but not least, obviously Gabby and Val. They did the cha-cha. It was so good. And this is actually the thing that was interesting, because when I first watched it, the first time I watched the episode, I was like, this was a really interesting song to pick for a cha-cha, because I could have also seen them doing a tango to this, like somebody dancing a tango to that, or like a more like or a smooth dance, like a more fierce smooth dance. But I thought it was great. And again, I thought it was cool that, again, even with the cool song choice, like that might have been a little bit different for cha-cha, I thought the choreography was great. Her leg work was really, really good. She had those straight legs, which I thought was amazing. Again, she has that amazing performance quality. Again, probably with the cheerleading experience, just because performing in front of that many people and doing choreography and stuff like that. I said she's a natural with performing. It's just like no doubt about it. She had a lot of power and attack, which I thought was great. I thought I agreed with what Derek said with in the New Yorkers, when she like did that head thing. I thought that was cool. I was like, I see all the pros do that, and I love that. I thought that was really cool. And I did and I agreed with Carrie Ann, though, again, the same thing with kind of a with the staccato kind of comment. And again, I don't think it was kind of anything that she hasn't worked on. I just think, again, I think the fact that, again, that maybe she's still kind of like performing a little bit inward instead of outward in some aspect. In some aspects is because I think it has a lot to do with ballroom still being really new to her. Because obviously, I remember she talked about, like, especially after the first week into the second week, she said that ballroom is just so different, which obviously we had talked about, and with people talking about, oh, it's not fair because they have dance experience. It really isn't the same. And so that's why I think that, again, maybe she's still trying to get used to performing ballroom, but it was so good. I thought it was great. I obviously one of my favorite dances of the night for sure. I'm just so excited to see her continue to grow and continue to improve, because I know, like, she's just so good and I absolutely love her. And Val's choreography is always on point. And so good to see her back in the audience again. So and they got 3 8s and a 9, which I thought was fair. So what were your thoughts?
I mean, honestly, everything that you just said. No, it was amazing. I was on that outfit. I love that outfit.
I love that outfit.
Love that outfit. She was like dancing on Instagram and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, she did really well. And I think that's the thing, is there's the three of them up there at the top, Charlie, Wayne, and Gabby. And I'm like, I think maybe in the next week or two, we're going to start to see it split. So I'm like, come on.
But if I had to guess, I think they're going to be in the top 3. Those 3 people.
Yeah.
If like the voting is not skewed based on, like, again, like just kind of like, again, not danceability or even just like fan base stuff. I think, and I probably put Shangela in there too, but I think Charlie, Wayne, Gabby are like kind of a lock for top 3 for me.
Yeah, so potentially Joseph and
Joseph and
Trevor too. I
Trevor.
think.
Yeah, exactly. I could see some of those people taking the fourth
And
spot.
Selma, like I think they're the other three that would be up, and Brit and Daniel and Brit.
All the there's so many for like all like the like for that. Yeah, exactly. There's so many.
Depending on the weeks, but
exactly. It was great.
So okay, so those are all the only person we did not talk about, and this was kind of the only other memorable thing, and we talked about Cheryl leaving too, was so Vinny and Coco. I thought their Roomba was okay. It was pretty good. It wasn't as strong as his dance last week, but I think it was still showing like general improvement. And I felt like I know he was down at the bottom too. they had him do an impression of Len, and it was
that was so funny.
Spot on. It was funny.
So
that's all I really had with that. And then
But
overall, the episode, I mean, they're definitely getting creative with their skits at the beginning because they're going to have some extra time now that there's less couples. But it was funny. I think the performance at the beginning is great every week. I think it's cool to see that level of performance quality. So
yes, exactly. I agree. That's what I said. The opening number was great. I loved, like, again, Bruno playing the main guy. I thought that was really funny. And he definitely is a character. He knows how to fight. That was really funny. And then Derek was James Bond in there too, which I thought was really cool. And again, they're really getting creative with their themes and their skits. I thought this was a great, again, very creative theme that they did. I would actually didn't expect it, obviously. I thought it was great. And it's actually something I want to, and then I know we talked about Cheryl and Louis going home. Again, like, if it was like on like weeks, like, again, all 3 weeks, it probably made sense. But again, it's still sad to see people get eliminated from the show. But I was gonna say I was actually interested to see where you were going to talk about, or if you had any opinions on this. What did you think of the little like rumba lesson that Derek gave? Kind of a lot of people had opinions on it on social media.
I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I mean,
I just saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, why are we doing this?" But I also saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is really cool." So like,
I think it's just
opinions.
Some people don't care about
learning. Exactly. Yeah.
It seemed very like extravagant the way they did it, but
probably was just for the theme. Exactly.
They're trying to educate people. Well, that was because of the theme, and they also have more time to fill now, and I think that's the point, is they're trying to like educate people on it. Some people don't care.
No, exactly. But there might be some people that do, because I have seen some people that obviously commentate on dancing as well, but they more kind of just say the performance aspect, where we obviously, since we kind of understand the vocabulary and steps, we can kind of talk about that. But that's what I was saying, is I really liked it, because I obviously, we know the vocabulary and what the dance details are and all the dances and stuff like that, but I feel like a lot of people, again, some people just don't care, and that's fine, but I feel like there's some people that like want to learn more about it, because I've heard a lot of them saying like, "Oh, I'm not a dancer, I don't understand that stuff," but they want to. And I feel like that's something, 'cause I remember Derek posted like, "Oh, should we do more of these?" And a lot of people said yes. I thought that was interesting.
We'll see how it goes, because they have the time to fill now. Like, as people leave, there's going to be more time to fill, but
exactly. We'll see. But I thought it was interesting. And then we got Disney Plus week next week, which will be a lot of fun. I'm excited about that.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness.
Well, good episode.
Good episode. Yeah, I know. I'm like, we're getting, and then the other 4 hours of our week, Bachelor in Paradise. Okay. I'm just going to start doing some recapping on a few things, and then we'll just go back and forth. Right. So there were the 2 episodes. So Monday's episode, they kind of recap the couples at the beginning. Oh, wait, sorry. I forgot. We need to switch our backgrounds.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Quote you from the ballrooms
to the beach.
To the beach. Okay.
So.
So yeah, they were going through the couples at the beginning. Apparently Hunter and Johnny were a thing, which they didn't really even, I don't remember that from the first episode. Victoria Fuller comes down to the beach, and then it's like, here we go now, starting to do the flip-flopping. She pulls Johnny and Justin, and then she asks Justin on the date, and they went ATVing, and Genevieve, and this is like a recurring thing throughout the 2 episodes, so we'll go back and forth with this, but so Genevieve like immediately loses it, and it's like, if he's confused, I don't want him. And I definitely want to make sure we come full circle on that throughout our conversation of how the episode pans out, because I've heard some of her podcast interviews and stuff on Twitter and whatever. Then Casey at the one point was like talking about Kira, and he's like, my love language is tacos, so I think Kira's too much for me. So
That was like, I was like, best statement ever.
we're getting some great one-liners. And there's like a thing with the tacos because Brandon brought the tacos
Yes.
down to watch the drama. Then Casey's like with the love language of the tacos. And then Michael and Sierra had a very important discussion about just like his dating situation, being a widow, and I think regardless of if this relationship like pans out to be a romantic one down the line, I think she's being very intentional about being with him because it's important, because I think she's understanding the gravity of, if I were to be with him, I would be a mother to his child, and like he's gone through this, and I think that's just very important. And we saw a lot of that with like Gabby with Nate during the previous season. So I thought that was pretty good. So I didn't know if you had anything about some of those items.
Yeah, I had a few things. I thought, going back, I know this is kind of not really part of the story, but it was cool to see that they had the intro back. I thought the intro was great.
Oh, yeah.
He said that was really funny.
Love the intro.
I love the intro. I thought just everybody was great. I thought that was really and again, they kind of did the rundown of all the couples, and that was pretty much from the first week as well. And again, with Justin and Genevieve, I know that she had said that they had a good connection, and I definitely can see that. And I know as we get kind of further down in the episode, in the second episode, they that might change a little bit. But I definitely I think that they have a good connection as well. It was interesting to see Victoria show up. This again, we hadn't seen her in a while. This is the second time, because obviously in the second episode of this week did the same thing. All the new people that they come down, they get the date card. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was really funny that Johnny calls her Caroline, which I thought was really funny. That was so funny.
I forgot about that.
I just wrote that down. I was just like, I think that's funny. And then Hunter said that she liked Johnny, but again, I didn't know that they were a thing. They didn't really talk about that at all, so we didn't really know. And she said she was a little worried just because she was like, she liked him, but he was talking to someone else. And then I love when she asked Justin if he wanted to go on the date, and he did not. He was like, oh, okay. He was just like okay. He didn't seem as enthused as I probably thought he maybe would have been. It was kind of funny. And then obviously Genevieve was not too happy. I think again, it just kind of hit her hard, because again, when she walked in, and this is kind of a huge theme of this these two episodes this week, was people are like, oh, I'm only going to kind of go after one person, and if they go explore someone else, I'm going to be mad or upset. And it was I understand, but it's just Paradise is different than the main shows in that way, so I don't exactly. I thought that statement she made was really interesting, where she said she was interested in Justin after one day more than Clayton after a month. And I was I'm like, wow, that's a big vote of confidence for Clayton, I guess. And then he said they talked and said that they liked their connection, and he said he wanted to try seeing what connections they have with other people, because then if it wasn't good with everybody else, as strong, that they came back and knew it was real rather than kind of forced. Which I definitely I agree with. I think that's a good kind of way to approach it, especially on Paradise. And so and then they did that off-roading thing, off-road vehicle thing, and then in the whatever they did. And then again, they kept kind of showing this thing where Genevieve just was I'm gonna go home tomorrow. I'm going home tomorrow. I'm going he's gonna come back and he's not gonna like me. I'm like, wow, girl, calm down. It's just I understand, but she was just kind of blowing it up pretty big, and I was just I understand, but I don't know.
All right, so the next thing I had, so they had there's the point where they had the drink with the bug in it, and Jacob pretended to drink it, and I thought I was going to throw up watching.
I know, me too. I first, because knowing Jacob, I actually thought maybe he was going to be I thought he was going to be bold enough to drink the whole thing, but he stopped, and I was good choice, but
listen. Once it has a stinger, no thank you. You don't know what toxins are on that. Or if it did sting someone, then there's somebody's blood in it. So anyway, then there was the whole thing with Haley and Logan. So Haley sees Logan go off with Shanae, and then Brandon was like, I totally jinxed it. Logan, they were talking, and then he didn't understand this whole thing about like being in my shell, and it was just
yes,
so painful to watch. And I
that was
really,
so funny.
well, Haley was one of those ones that nobody like really remembered who she was. And honestly, nothing against her. I think she seemed like a doll. She was great, but I'm
Yes.
just thinking, girl, Logan's not for you. Like
I-
Logan and Shanae, I saw better, and then of course now like the next episode will that changed a bit. But I honestly thought their date was because Shanae got the date card,
Yeah,
went on the date. I thought they were good for each other, and I thought it went well. So I don't know. What did you think about their date and with the whole Haley thing?
yeah, I thought that was so funny. I have a few things before that, but I can circle back around to it. Again, with the whole Haley thing, again, I agree that I just saw kind of Logan and Shanae a little bit better.
Mhm.
And again, she's like a nice person and she seems really sweet, but again, it's just, again, like I guess the connection was a little bit off for me. I thought, like I said, I love, what was it? I was about to say that I love how all of them were narrating what happened, like when they were talking,
Mhm.
and when he was like, "Oh, I jinxed it." I love how they were like all narrating. It was like, "Oh, it's all good." And then the thing was, I put this out. I was like, I love that subtle zoom that they did on Shanae and Logan in the water when they were talking to. It's like they had the shot of Haley and I think Genevieve talking, and then she was like, "Oh, it's gonna be great." And then they zoomed in like through the middle of them, and it was them in the water. It was together. It was so funny. I was like, classic Bachelor kind of foreshadowing thing. It was so.
You just don't know how much they're like, okay, talk about this right now, because they're like positioning the
Oh,
camera.
it's like we're close. It's like, yeah, now zoom in there.
Oh.
It's like, because it's like, oh, go in the water, and then like, did you
Yeah.
guys go here and talk? Exactly. So I agree with about that. I was saying that again, he doesn't seem as into her as she was into him. Like the same thing.
Yeah.
Logan didn't seem as into her and into Haley as Logan was, or like, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
He didn't seem as interested into her as she was to him. And again, that in your show thing was so funny, and I love how he was just like, he like stopped for a minute and he was like, I think that's a turtle. I thought that was so funny, which he was like, it's a metaphor or whatever.
Oh yeah. I was like, it was so uncomfortable.
No, I know.
I'm gonna block out half of this from my memory.
I know, exactly. A few things I had before that was Kira was talking about how she liked Casey, but then Casey didn't feel the same way, which again, that was kind of self-explanatory. And that was then the whole tacos thing, which was great. And then, this is actually pretty interesting, the Sierra and Michael kind of connection, because I actually would have never expected that coming into the season, which is really interesting. And again, here we go with the Zaddy thing again.
Oh, geez.
And then she said the Zam Zaddy thing. And I was like, oh gosh, that was so funny.
I was just like, this is just, they're overdoing it. But
No, I know they are overdoing it. And again, I love that conversation they had about him being open about dating kind of being scary for him again, obviously with his wife passing, and obviously it was a pretty sudden thing. And again, when you're married to somebody and you have a kid with that person, obviously you probably have a very, very special connection with that person. So when that person passes away unexpectedly, it's probably like really hard to try to find, and you're probably scared to go into that dating world again and try to like replicate that or try to find something else like that you can feel that way again. And I thought that conversation they had was really good. And I feel like Sierra is very mature as well, because I feel like she can have those kind of serious conversations like also. I remember she had talked about how like obviously with like a kid being in the mix as well, like we have to have those conversations because obviously their age difference is pretty big. But I think that they feel very genuine to me, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it pans out too. That was kind of my whole thing. But yeah, I actually, one of the next things that I had was like later on, they panned back to them all talking on the beach and how Sierra was missing a pink, like her pinky.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was so funny.
I was like, how did we never noticed it.
Oh, I know we didn't say, I know we didn't see it.
And then after that, I thought it was hilarious because then Andrew's like, hold her hand, like feel this.
Yes.
Yes. I don't know. It just gets back to the like, I don't want to use the word stupid, but I think it's because it's not stupid. It's just that sometimes I think it's like you watch them and you're like, oh, you idolize these people. I'm like, they are having these same nonsensical type conversations that people would have. They just don't always air all of it all the time. Like they're airing the more intense conversations, but it just was like, it normalized it. I thought it was funny because that's something that you would just totally have a discussion like that with your friend.
Exactly. I agree.
Then they get into the whole thing with Sally's suitcase appearing, which was like a fake suitcase, of course, because I don't think half of those things would have been in that suitcase.
Oh, I know.
But even though I'm like, even if it was a real suitcase, like you just start going through it.
Yes.
And Wells's whole story,
that was so funny.
Dying. That was the best thing I've seen.
That's why I said Well's storyline was iconic. It really was.
I think some of it was like partially true, but they definitely embellished it just for like the dramatic effect. And I thought it was hilarious. And then they started talking about how Kira was saying about how Justin was like all over Sally at Stagecoach. And then after that, there was a whole war on Twitter because Justin was like saying like, I don't remember you being at Stagecoach. And then Kira showed a picture of them all there. And she was in the photo and Sally was in the photo and Justin was in the photo. So I was like, it's gonna be drama.
Yes.
But
I agree with you on that situation. I thought it was so funny where it's just like, oh, Sally's here or she's gonna be here. And then it's like ripped over in a suitcase. It was like just like going through it. It's like, okay. That was so funny. But the whole situation was just really interesting. Did you have anything about Shanae and Logan, their date?
Oh, I just thought it was good. That was it.
No, I thought so
that was
too.
all
I thought they both feel the same way about each other and their connection was good. So I agree about that.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think. So then what happened? So Victoria and Justin come back. What were you gonna say? That was what you were gonna say.
That was what I was gonna say. Was that Justin and Genevieve kind of are arguing about their date or Victoria's date?
So he came back and he didn't talk to her for like an hour. And I don't know. She has since said that she realized that it came across like she was basically saying like I am unwell, or I watching it back like I am unwell. And I think she was on Ben and Ashley I's podcast. I didn't listen to her episode about this stuff, but I think she realized like in hindsight watching it that she carried on a lot. I mean, I'm not going to, crucify the girl, like it happens, because I think that's what she said. When you're there with somebody like 3 days, like it's like all day and all night you're talking to them and you form this connection and it's like you get that doubt in your mind. I think and we'll see going to the next episode. I think the point was that she just, it's obviously hard to sit there and be like, at that point in time, he's the only guy you've connected with. You're waiting on the rose. And this is why it gets like this, because if you at least stick around to get the rose and the next week comes and then the guys come in. So it's kind of just like the whole point of you have to be very much in that moment. So, yeah, I mean, it was rough, and then they kind of carried that into the next episode.
Yeah, exactly. The kind of like latter half of the last part of the first episode was Romeo wanting to talk to Brittany, because I guess the whole thing with Kira and Joe and everything, it kind of just went out the window at that point, and then she was just not interested in the slightest. And then I think he wanted to like run around to like 3 or 4 other girls, and then most of them weren't interested either. And then Wells was saying the whole thing about like he's not Romeo, but it was just like really funny where he's going around, he went around to everybody again, and that goes into the 3rd episode or 2nd episode of the week. They kind of continue that situation. I
know that that kind of finished up the first episode where it's like Brittany was just like swerved out of the way.
No, I know. I love that. She swerved out of the kiss. I know.
Well, then it was like, then he goes to Jill. Oh, and then they did the slow-mo. They showed the slow-mo of it, which was hilarious. And then he went to Jill, and then he went to Haley, and then he went to Kira, and then he started crying. And I was like, oh my gosh. I think someone said at the beginning of the next episode, they're like, why are you, I think it was Casey. It could have been Casey. Like, why are you crying? You did this to yourself. But I don't know. I think they just were just showing that whole thing. And then then they had the producer, the clips at the end with Wells when they were filming this. Sally too.
That was really funny. Yeah, it was an amazing video that Wells did. That was a great story. It was awesome.
His acting is impeccable.
Acting is great.
Oh my gosh. So okay,
the 2nd episode.
Next episode. So they pick it up with the rose ceremony.
Go over the couples because I wrote them down. Unless you did too.
Oh well, I think there was like all
that's what I mean. Who gave the rose to the person?
Yeah, no, I have that later because I was like the whole cocktail hour. Wells had the whole commentary about the Romeo quote. He's like, oh, the Juliets and the maybe your Margaret. But they all die. But so you die in the middle, not the end. This is an elaborate analogy. But then they were all then it was like all of the women were going after Jacob's rose because they didn't know. I said, I'm listen, I'm not gonna lie, Kira had a good move with the Jane Tarzan thing.
Yes.
And Brandon said she looks like a lettuce.
I know. I was about to say that was so awesome. Like, oh my gosh.
But and then Wells said to Genevieve, "Is it really your birthday, or is it like Lace where it's not actually your birthday?"
Yeah, exactly.
And which was funny because he did flat out say that, and some of them still didn't realize that it wasn't actually Lace's birthday. So I don't know, maybe it's just because he said that to Genevieve. And then Justin still got a cake for Genevieve for her birthday because he wanted to show her that he still cares. And it was just so awkward because then they started fighting again. And listen, that was just the awkward thing about it, that I think that Justin genuinely meant it. Like, listen, you have some of the other guys that it's not like Justin was trying to get her rose that week.
Yes.
He was trying to just show he cared.
Yes.
And I do genuinely feel like he meant it.
Right.
It wasn't to be manipulative. It wasn't any of that. I do feel like he genuinely meant it. And unfortunately, because she was still kind of reeling about everything else that had happened, she really just didn't receive that. And I think it was hard because then they started fighting again. And then Victoria noticed that. And then she's like, well, I'm going to go kiss Johnny. And then Hunter and Justin were watching this, like, what the heck is happening? Yes. And then the rose ceremony started. So did you have anything else about the early part before the rose ceremony, or?
I have the whole Jacob thing was really interesting again, especially with Kira walking out. She's like, I have a surprise for you. And then he was just like, oh, wow. He was like saying, oh, like, here's my Jane and stuff like that. That was so funny. Again, that was interesting. Again, I don't know if it's more that they just wanted to get a rose or they actually genuinely like him.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I felt like,
I
don't, how do I say this? Who did I say? It was Lace, and then who were the people that went? Was it Haley? No.
It was Lace, Haley, Kira. Yeah, Lace,
okay.
Haley, Kira.
Lace and Haley just wanted the rose. Yeah. Kira, oh no, sorry. Okay, they all just wanted the rose. But the difference was that I felt like Kira, at least, and maybe Lace too, I think the whole point was that if Kira, I felt like there was at least a good enough understanding that if he gave one of them the rose, they're going to go into the next week. And if then the girl starts going out with another guy, Jacob's not going to be totally like bummed. You know, I want to be like, they're in paradise for the right reasons. I'm like, no, I think their mindset was okay, that whoever it was, I think he just kind of was like, who of these three do I want to pick? And I'm just like, him and Haley, no. Yeah. So, okay. So we'll go through the list of.
We can go through. Yeah. Okay. We can do that. So, like we talked about. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So Andrew and Teddy, Brandon and Serene, Michael and Sierra, Logan and Shanae. It just auto-corrected to Shane right now. I don't know my notes. Jacob picked Lace, which I was surprised because I thought he was going to pick Kira, but I thought I was like, okay, fine. It gives Lace another chance for other guys to show up for her, maybe. Justin picked Genevieve because I guess he saw Victoria kissing Johnny, so he's like, I'm not going to do this. So even things are rough with Genevieve, let me just pick her, because I think he didn't want to pick Victoria over her at that point. And then Johnny picked Victoria, so like, then that was
that's that.
And then Hunter, and then so Romeo picked Jill, and then she kind of was like, yes, because I know nothing in paradise is guaranteed. So he had said that.
Yeah.
And so she was using his phrase against him. Casey picked Britt because it looks like they're starting to form a connection, and then Haley, Kira, and Hunter went home. And
surprise to me.
I mean, I felt bad for
her. But
yeah, I felt bad for Hunter because I felt like she did have a connection with Johnny, and then didn't. I mean, Haley and Kira kind of, I don't know. It's just hard because it's just like, it's just the luck of the draw of who's there and who you have the connection with. Like, if I was there's only a handful of guys I would have probably been interested in that way, and I don't even know how many of them would have liked me back compared to
exactly.
So it's just kind of like, I really only know I would have probably only been interested in even trying to date 4 of them.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah.
And I mean, no shade against the other ones, but like personality.
Yeah. Exactly, I agree. Yeah.
So then after that, or what did you have anything else to say?
No, I was just gonna say what next I had in my notes.
Yeah, if you want, go ahead, and then I'll pick it up after that.
Okay, cool. So now next, Aaron and James show up, which was really cool. It's great to see them again. And again, they're right out of the gate. They give them a double date card. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah. And they go kind of talk around with all the girls and stuff like that. And then I love how when he like picked I don't know what they were talking about, but they were talking. I think one of them pulled Victoria over and like talked to him about it, and then Victoria said something, and I loved Victoria's name card, and there was like says Victoria doesn't know how paradise works.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was so funny. And then obviously not really a surprise because they kind of like called them first, and then also they kind of were hinting at this. They picked Genevieve and Shanae kind of obviously with their drama on Clayton season. And then all this. I thought the date seemed fun. It seemed really cool. I don't know who those people were at the pool that they were at. Maybe just people staying there. I don't know. They had them cheer for them, I guess. And they did some kind of like nacho eating thing. It seemed like, from what I could tell. And then they were just talking. Again, it seemed like they have really good connections with them. And it was interesting to me because it seemed like, I don't want to say they both kind of changed their minds on the people that they were with, but they were kind of more like, oh, I'm interested in like these guys now. When kind of both of them, like with Shanae was like, oh, like I like Logan a lot. And then same thing with Genevieve, was like, oh, I like Justin a lot. And they didn't think they both had any kind of like, they could have been swayed another way. But then after these dates, it kind of seemed like they were like, oh, I kind of like these guys too. So
I think so. I think the biggest thing some people were mad at Justin for saying that Genevieve's behavior was hypocritical, and I think it was only hypocritical because she really made a big deal with him.
Yes, I agree.
And I think like even in hindsight, she kind of realized that. So that's just like, squash it. I'm not going to keep criticizing Genevieve about it. I think it was good that she went with Aaron, because I think it's just like, I think it was just like, just go and like go with him. And then Shanae went with James. And then, okay, those are just like other things that I said. Yeah, I mean, I thought the date was fine. I think the biggest thing was that, of course, they were some like random pool party. I don't even know.
That's why I said I don't know who they were.
It was so crazy. But I think the biggest thing that I forgot if they came back. Well, so I know you have a few minutes of the last episode that you need to watch. But I don't think they had come back from the group date yet. And I know Genevieve had said that her and Shanae had spoken together at one point. I'm assuming it's on this date that they had some time that they talked together, because I don't think they finished showing them returning back from the date. So that will probably be in next week's episodes. But I think it was good just because everybody's like, well, they went on the 2-on-1 date last year, and then Shanae said she was going to throw Genevieve off the cliff and blah, 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 blah. I mean, they seem to be getting along. And it's fine. We love to see the growth work.
We do. It was 10 times better on this season than on Clayton's season.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what even Genevieve had said in one of the interviews that I listened to her on one of the podcasts. She's like, I just don't want to be, just because if Shanae and I are okay now, I don't want to be associated with some of the negative things she said on Clayton season, which I think it's fair. And that was not with Genevieve, that was with I think her name was Elizabeth. That was the other, I mean, that's a separate thing, but I'm happy to see that we're seeing a little bit better personality from her.
I agree.
And so I think then, I mean, while they're on the date, there's other stuff going on the beach. Jacob's eating the whole pineapple.
Yep.
Then, did you have anything else about that? And then
no, that's pretty much it.
A few other things.
I thought that they had good connections. And again, it seemed like they liked them as well. So.
Okay, so then there was that. Jacob and Lace had a very awkward conversation, and I forgot what they were saying about what they were talking about, but the whole conversation I just remembered was awkward. I was like, about these two. And then Ashley and Jared came to Paradise to talk to all of them, which I love them. So I was
happy so much
for them to be there. And then Rodney got there. And got a little bit crazy. So he talked to Jill at first, and then he talked to Teddy. And then it was crazy because all these other things started happening. It got dark out. I was like, didn't Rodney have a date card? Did he not go on a date with anyone? Because they kind of were just like, was it not for that night? Was it for the next day?
Yeah.
But then anyway, Teddy Andrew's face when Teddy went to go talk to him, he freaked out. And then this was like the big thing of Teddy was crying and asked Andrew to talk. And it was just so sad. She just basically said that she just was so excited to meet Andrew, because I think they really were honest with, they didn't want to talk outside of the show. They wanted to wait until they met each other, which I think somebody had kind of just brought up the whole point of it just builds up all this anticipation. And they got along well, you know, obviously on the first date, but I think it's hard because if you're kind of expecting it to be this like amazing thing, and if it's close but not exactly what you expected, I think that's where Teddy kind of just, I think she felt bad because Andrew is great, but she just felt like there was something missing and she couldn't pinpoint it. And I think she kind of just didn't want to be like, okay, no, I'm gonna go with Rodney now and do that all in front of him. So I think she also felt like if this isn't going to work for Andrew and I don't think it could work for me with anyone else, which I think part of me just feels like I wish he stayed. And I feel like, I don't know if she's going to come back. Part of me feels like she might come back, but maybe not. But I don't know. Then she just spoke to Andrew. They broke up and she left. She didn't talk to anybody else aside from like Wells and the producers. And then they kind of were leaving it all at the end there. Like Andrew didn't know she left. Rodney didn't know she left. And then they cut to the previews on the other stuff. So I don't know. I feel bad. I mean, I really like Andrew, but I think, you know, it's going to be interesting now because if like Teddy left, is Andrew going to try to explore dating anybody else there now that she left? And then the girls do have the dates this week. So you just wonder, and they've done this in the past, that if like something similar to that happens, they'll kind of just extend the a rose to the guy. So they might like give Andrew one just because they feel for him that they want him to stay. So I anticipate that could happen.
Yeah, I can see that
if
happen.
nobody else really like seems to grab him at this point. So yeah, I don't know. I felt bad. But that's how she feels. That's how she feels. I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what are you supposed to do? Force it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you have anything else on those things? Because then I'll just do the last two things before that you didn't get to see it.
Yeah. That is pretty much it. Again, with the whole Teddy thing, like, yeah, it's definitely sad to watch. And again, with Andrew, like, I feel like they did have a good connection and stuff like that. It's just, again, it would not be good if she did try to force it. If she like knew that this was the thing I'm supposed to do and I'm supposed to leave and everything like that. That is probably the best decision, because like I would have hated for it to be like, I think she knew that but didn't say it to him, and then like, it drags on, and then it's like, well, like, so, like I just didn't say it, and then he was kind of led on the whole time, even if she wasn't meaning to do that. So I just think for out of both their kind of their sake, it worked out for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I wish she kind of just tried to stick around to see if it worked with Rodney, even if she didn't. I don't know.
I agree.
But she had to just follow her gut. So yeah. So the only other things that you'll see when you watch the last few minutes of the episode, they showed the previews for the upcoming weeks. Sally does actually show up. And then they had this thing with Nacho the dog that there was a dog that showed up and Kira was talking to Nacho the dog. So it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. So I don't know, that was really it. I think we're
so far.
Yeah, it's there's still a lot going on, but we're getting there. We'll see what happens next week, because now we're gonna have the first rose ceremony with the girls giving out the roses, and then it's going to switch back to the guys giving out the roses. So then there's gonna be more girls coming. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I think that's all I had. Did you want to get ready to wrap us up then?
Yeah. Is that you go? You're all good. Okay, awesome. So I think I'm all good too. So we just want to thank you guys for watching and listening to the episode today. It really means a lot. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to us on YouTube, and hit the post notification bell just to like let you know when we post. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend. Also, if you can please follow us on the Ballrooms and Bachelors Instagram page, and it's if you want to follow us on our personal Instagrams, those Instagrams are at the top of the bio of the Instagram for Ballrooms and Bachelors, and at the end screen of this episode as well. Again, if you have any like ideas or comments or questions that you guys anything you want to see us talk about in the show, please DM us, and we'll definitely always, for sure, we want to do that kind of stuff. So thank you guys again so much for watching, and we really appreciate it.
See you next week.
See you next week, guys.